Planning Commission now in session.
Yes.
Roll call.
David Reed.
Here.
John Hutching. Here. John Bess. Kirby Rossler.
Yes, sir.
Lindsey Phillips. Sarah Woods. Rick Lawrence.
Yes, sir.
Michael Parker.
Here.
George Larger. Michael Clark.
Kelly Cottle in his place.
All right.
Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from June 4th, regular meeting. Is there any corrections, additions, or deletions need to be made? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make that motion, please.
Support.
John?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm sorry, three people. Who's the first and who's the second? Who were you? Michael.
Michael and John.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no old business, new business. Public hearing, zoning map amendment application, Jeff and Alice Moran, 916 Forest Avenue, 2 lots.
Okay. We need a motion to exit the regular meeting and a public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're in a public meeting.
Okay. Hello everyone, welcome to the first of 2 public hearings we have tonight. As stated, this one deals with a zoning map amendment application from Jeff and Alicia Moran for the properties located at 916 Forest Avenue. At this time, I would like to demonstrate with evidence for the record that this public hearing was noticed to the public. Here is a signed affidavit demonstrating that first-class mail was sent to the adjoining property owners. Here is an image on the left of the sign that I erected on the property. And here is a printout copy of the digital tear sheet used to generate the advertisement in the Ledger Independent. It's really small, but it's down there. All members of the public will be given the opportunity to speak on this matter. We require that you stand up, introduce yourselves, say your names and your addresses for the record. Are there any members of the public present who wish to speak on this matter? Nobody wants to speak. Let's go ahead and swear you in. Stand up, raise your right hand. Do you swear or otherwise affirm to tell the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Okay. Have a seat. At this time, I invite the applicants to come up and be sworn in and address the Planning Commission.
For the record, John Bess is here.
Yeah, John Bess arrived just a few minutes early, so he's actually, I think you arrived at 5:32. Raise your right hands. Do you swear or otherwise affirm to tell the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Excellent.
Good evening.
So yeah, just talk about what you'd like to do.
We are Alicia and Jeff Moran. We own the property on 916 Forest Avenue and have for some time now. We used to operate a community treatment facility out of it when we owned New Hope Community Services, which was out on top of the hill. From then we sold the business and now still have the controlling rights to the property at 916 Forest, and began to look at other business opportunities that we could use the facility for, and still kind of outreaching what we typically did with the mental health and substance abuse, and offering some kind of community support in that downtown area where we are. So we came up with talking to some of the people in the area. It was discussed that they really didn't have options, affordable options for rental properties to have events, birthday celebrations, baby showers, wedding venue type meetings and community outreach areas. It's directly across from the city park, so we thought it would be a potentially good plan to see if we could get something of that done. In the meantime, when we put in our application, we were notified that the building was not zoned for what it was that we wished to do. So we were given a printout of everything that we could put within the building at that time with conditional licensing. So we spoke with Mr. Laker, and he, kind of defined what we could and could not do, and then how to go about pursuing if we were still interested in doing the venue. So thereby we did the application and put forth a request to be here at this meeting to discuss it and answer any questions that may be, but also to allow the public an opportunity to express what they would like or not like as far as the building.
We've had everybody that walks by, because we've been up there working inside and remodeling, and everybody's interested. What are you doing? It's time something's been done with this building instead of just sitting there, not really doing anything. So they all seem to like the idea, people that I've spoke to. Or some people would like to see a little store go in there or something too, because their grocery store is not doing too much either. But we'd like to have a better option. We would like to do the venue, but we would like to have more of an option to provide better care for the people of that neighborhood up through there. So, because there's just not a whole lot in the neighborhood for them. So, I mean, the people that's walking past are coming back with IGA bags, and it's a pretty long walk for them, especially if it's raining or wintertime or, snowing like that. So, if y'all have any questions, we can help answer. Or
What's your address of record?
for where we live or for the building?
Yeah, where you live.
4010 Impasse Lane.
I know there's some parking in behind the building. As you look at it, I guess what kind of occupancy would you have there?
Yeah, we looked at that too. I haven't gone out and really measured it, but I mean, it's from the gravel from the alley all the way up through there, and we're going to kind of like double row that. But across the street, 4th Avenue's got, we know it's, we're not looking at a big occupancy for any, more so we've had a lot of interest in like doing baby showers and things like that, so it's not going to be a huge, and anybody that rents knows it's not going to be, big. So, but we think we can accommodate the parking, and we think a lot of people being in that area will walk. Since it's so easy access for that area, so.
It's centrally located enough where people can pretty much access it on foot from any area downtown, any area.
Well, like I said, the people are walking past us to go to the IGA store and back, so if they're willing to do that,
That was my main question too, when I was reading over this prior, it was the parking allocation for that, and is there some type of capacity that we'd have to set or something like that? And I know there's ratios, but then 4th Avenue is a public street where you really can't dedicate any of that for the facilities. So you have to utilize back chamber or back roads and back alleys to.
Well, it would be clearly designated, behind our building. Our anticipation is at some point whenever we get everything done or get approved to either blacktop a couple of the gravels and stuff too, and then so we can put lines, parking, so we can see, what kind of spaces. We can measure to see also, but and then try to look at different designs of how to actually get entrance and exit for everybody, so nobody's ever blocked in or anything either. So,
Remind me, what's the square footage of the building?
Well, it's got a full basement under it too, and I'm not sure what the square footage of that is, but it's I'm going to say it's about 1,400 square foot, maybe, probably up top.
Right. And I'm not really worried about. So there is a requirement for off-street parking, and the inclusion of that rear lot too is one of the reasons why I'm not worried about parking, because this land use is hard to define. It's not really outlined in the zoning ordinance. As a matter of fact, they're going to need a conditional use permit after this as well, because the closest thing is like exhibition halls and conference centers. And that's what those are prohibited in the current zoning classification. But usually, oftentimes, the parking requirements based on the square footage, and it's such a small building, I think they're probably going to be fine for their minimum required off-street parking. And even then, they're also going to have plenty of street parking, especially being right across from the park, which doesn't really have a big parking requirement anyway. Or instead of buildings where there are people coming and going, even when the park is well used, there are very few people parking in front.
Yeah, well, there's a parking lot down there at the end of the park as well. I mean, not that we want to utilize that, but I mean, it is an option too, so. And another, just other than like baby showers and things too, where businesses have trainings, things like that, that's kind of what we're looking at too for, because a lot of people don't want to rent a big place when they've got 10, 12 people that they want to train or something like that, so everybody looks to save that last dollar.
I think you just answered one of the questions that I thought of on the parking side is once you are able to look at the zoning, but the conditional use would probably set some parameters on that if they choose to do that on that side. Obviously we wouldn't expect a huge crowd, but if something would happen, where there was
right,
and then all of a sudden you had traffic chaos because of that, then you'd have to kind of control that. If you didn't put any controls on there, it can just be whatever.
Yeah, we
that's
talked about that specifically too. And I mean, if we think it's going to be like that, we would try to have one of us or somebody that work with us or something to kind of be down there to oversee that too. So.
And that was one of the cons that we identified in the petition for the proposal, is potentially having to have outside supports for larger event, if that was even a thing. We might have to have city involvement with police and directing traffic in and out to keep the congestion down.
But I think that can be addressed at the Board of Adjustments on the, on the limits or whatever allocations would be allowed. You probably have to have, additional, you talk about a back parking lot, but if you did look at that square foot, like that 20, 50, 100, wherever that is, that might satisfy some additional use on that down the road.
Well, they can certainly add something to the east end that doesn't exist, with the exception of maybe a couple of church halls.
Right.
There's just not much down there for the local folks to go to without large transportation issues. I think it's a welcome addition down there personally.
Well, we do have left over from our other business. We have a lot of kids games and things like that as well. We actually have a pool table and an air hockey table and things. We've discussed about incorporating that, but we're going to make like tabletops to cover them in case somebody didn't want them, so they could just be like a serving table, those things. But if people actually wanted for the kids to play games and air hockey and things, because nobody really else offers that as well. And I mean, like the Lions Club, or not Lions Club, but like the Rotary or the Lions Club or something like that, or the churches, so that would be a benefit for them too. So.
Anybody else got any questions?
Yes, the members of the community wanted to.
First of all, I'd like to say good afternoon, Planning Commission. My name is Pastor Jones. I'm overseer of River Outreach Ministry. Our property is kind of, it's adjoining to the property that they're talking about on Pelham Street and Forest Avenue. First of all, I would like to say, being a leader in the community, we have a strong goal and a mission to improve East End area. That's our goal, is to improve East End area. And we've done a lot so far with River Outreach, with even on Pelham Street, painting the building, improving the appearance of River Outreach building. And this move here, this project would be a benefit to East End area. It would actually improve East End. And we do a lot working with the mayor, working with the council, and we have come up with some ideas with the police department to improve East End. And again, like I said earlier, that's our main goal, to do all we can to improve East End. And you guys mentioned the parking earlier. Even at our church, we've had some major events where we've had over 250 people. And yes, so sometimes we had to use Forest Avenue, and which it worked out. It worked out. We used the parking area there and Forest Avenue, and everything worked out fine. There was no traffic congestion. We didn't need the police to direct traffic. Everything worked out fine. So, and the reason I'm here, I'm all for this. I think this would be a great move for East End, and I like what the letter also said with helping the lower class families be able to afford a place to have birthday parties, and believe it or not, I get a lot of calls, and there's a lot of people that I cater to allow them to come to River Outreach to have birthday parties and those type of celebrations. And you know, because they can't afford the other places to go. So, and now to have this access resource in East End would be very valuable. So, I'm all for it. And again, our properties adjoin to one another, and the only time we're really there really is on Sunday. So, any other day during the week, they've got availability to our property, and we just thank God that this thing is developing. And I hope it goes well. But to River Outreach, this is a positive move.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or otherwise affirm to tell the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Okay. Introduce yourself.
My name is Connie Stam, and I've known Jeff for eons, and Alicia, I work for her, and I just want to say that everything that she appeared to do, and they appeared to do because they were in business together, was to help the community or help the people that needed help that some people didn't want to help. And I have no doubt that they will go above and beyond what's needed to help the community and help those less fortunate.
Ma'am, what's your address of record, please?
3018 Kidder Lane, Maysville, Kentucky.
Thank you.
And I work with the Shepherd's House.
Anyone else? Okay, need a motion to go back into regular meeting?
Motion. Support.
Second. Rick, all those in favor say aye. Okay. Any further discussion?
According to my math, George, if I was roughly about 13 dollars. Roughly,
Yeah, I think that's what he mentioned on the main floor, but there's a basement as well.
there is a basement, I include in the basement. Roughly 50.
Is there a question in there?
No.
Would you plan on utilizing the basement as well as a future or after that?
Probably in the future, we were looking at it just for like a kitchen area, something like that, if they wanted to use for food or something like that.
And a point of clarification, I totally probably misunderstood this. I know what your intentions are now, but you also mentioned the possibility of a store. That was just an idea, but that's not what you're asking.
No, that's not what we're asking.
I mean, I know
No,
that's not the
just
intention,
no, that's not their intentions at all. I mean, we want to do the event.
Right.
Venue.
That was just something that's been mentioned in the past and went through your all's head, but this is where we're heading.
Well, I mean, like I said, people, as I've been there working and stuff, they come by, what's going on, you know, and well, we thought she's putting a store in here, so I mean, we want to do what the community needs up there, is what we want to do. So we kind of want to bring people together and like I said, there's no affordable options or really other places for them to be up there right now, so.
I'd make a move to approve the application as presented.
Okay, got a motion on the floor to approve the
Any
second.
conditions or?
No, you guys need to make findings for KRS 213. Which we usually do.
Which is one of the three.
Yeah, just one of the three. And we don't have to talk about my staff report if you guys have read it, fine with it.
Yeah.
But that's usually part of what we do. So they're seeking, I recommend B1 general business because it was really the only commercial zoning designation that made sense there. And the current zoning designation is R4B Old Town Residential. briefly, it's along Forest Avenue, and I consider Forest Avenue to be like the main street of the East End. I mean, that's where most of the economic activity is focused. You know, it's technically surrounded by residential. Across the street is residential and industrial, but really that's the city's big park. We just never rezoned it. Technically, if this is a sticking point for you, it would be spot zoning. But I mean, if you look at the image of the facade, I mean, it was a bank. I'm pretty sure it was the Bank of Maysville branch.
Yeah.
You know, the intention of the property was to be some sort of commercial. And that's the way it's been for, I mean, it's been derelict for at least as long as I've been here, which is over 9 years. But how long, does anybody know how long it was a bank branch before
I
that?
think it was built as a bank, Barbara Construction built it, and I think it was 1972, I believe, when it was built, and it was, I've got the pictures, the original pictures of it the day it opened, I think, so.
Right. So, you know, I don't often spend a lot of time saying how much the comprehensive plan supports economic development, because it's one of the pillars of everybody's comprehensive plan. But the principles that are outlined in the comprehensive plan, it pretty much meets them all. I mean, it attracts new businesses. This is attracting a new business. This is a new business. It diversifies the economy, and it's entrepreneurship. Even though, you know, if you look at the comprehensive plan, what's that map? The map probably needs to be improved. It's probably supposed to be residential. It never really was residential. And since the comprehensive plan supports economic development, despite what the zoning classification was, and the fact that it was a bank, you know, I think you could argue that it's supported by the comprehensive plan. You know, maybe it should have never been. Maybe it should have never been single family or old town residential. Maybe it should have always been commercial. So you could argue that the most appropriate zoning classification is some sort of commercial, which B1, starting a block to the east, is a big B1 district in the East End. And the third prong about unanticipated changes of a physical, social, or economic nature, I don't really think that applies. But I mean, you got two good prongs there that you can rely on if you so desire.
Good.
But negative externalities, I mean, I think it probably fits in with the mosaic that is the East End. And they've got enough room there where I think parking shouldn't be a problem. I'm usually a little lenient on parking in the East End because the parking minimums are for something that's being developed right now, whereas the East End is already developed. So if someone wanted to go in somewhere, think of the Papa Bird restaurant. They don't have any off-street parking. Am I going to keep a restaurant from going in there? Because despite that, it's been a restaurant several times over since I've been here. You know.
I also have to remember what was when I was young on the East End. I mean, just getting my grandmother's house down back in the 80s during tobacco season. I mean, this is nothing. You know, the traffic that you're adding is nothing compared to having tobacco going. Brownings was going strong back then. I mean, I hope it does well. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think you're going to have that much traffic. So yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, and like I said, Forest Avenue is kind of the main commercial artery right there. Whenever I'm trying to make a call while walking home, I can't hear what they're saying because people are just zooming by constantly. So yeah, that's my set.
Council, you satisfied you on the prongs?
Yeah, yeah, and I think so. I'm anticipating where this is going, so I think a motion to approve the application from
Mr. and Mrs. Moran.
From what is it, from R4B to B1 zoning, under the findings, the KRS 100.213 are met in that approving the application is supported by the comprehensive plan, the recommendation of staff that the most appropriate zoning classification would be B1, and there are no negative externalities that have been talked about.
That's what you meant to say, whatever.
Yes, sir. I'll tell you what, he's a mind reader.
Take that hat off and brain just come out.
Lock it back up.
We're going to take a voice from...
Well, we need.
I'll second that.
Second. Yes, that's what I said. Voting aye would be to approve that motion, which would be to approve the rezone. Voting nay would shoot down the motion if it passed, and someone would have to propose a motion to deny it. Is that right? Okay. John Hutchins.
Yes.
John Bess.
Yes.
Kirby Rosser.
Yes.
Rick Lawrence.
Yes.
Michael Parker.
Yes.
Okay, so that passed. So just to explain to everybody, because of what the city passed in 2017, at the next meeting, we will take final action, approve the findings of fact. Then if nobody comes forward, or if the city is fine with this, 21 days after that, then the rezoning will be official. And then probably, so sometime in August, it'll be official. I don't anticipate if somebody was really against this, they would have shown up tonight. So I would say in early August, come in and apply for your conditional use permit. We can get you on the September adjustment. Maybe even, we might even get you in August. So see me at the end of the month.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
All right, next on the agenda, public hearing, zoning map amendment application, Elizabeth Knights, 621 West 2nd Street, 2 lots.
All right, so we need a motion to exit the regular meeting.
Need a motion to exit the regular meeting? Herbert?
I'll second.
John second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're in public hearing.
All right, everybody, welcome to the second of 2 public hearings we have tonight. It is regarding a zoning map amendment application from Elizabeth Knights for the properties located at 621 West 2nd Street. At this time, I would like to demonstrate with evidence that this public hearing was noticed to the public. Here is a signed notarized affidavit that first-class mail was sent to the adjoining property owner. Here on the right is the sign that I erected on the property 2 weeks in advance. And once again, here is a printed copy of the digital tear sheet used to generate the advertisement in the Ledger Independent. Again, it's really small, but it's right there. All members of the public will be given the opportunity to speak on this matter. We require that you stand up and introduce yourselves and say your names and addresses for the record. Are there any members of the public other than the applicant who wish to speak on this matter? Okay. Ma'am, would you stand and raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or otherwise affirm to tell the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Excellent. At this time, Elizabeth, you want to stand up and we'll swear you in. Do you swear or otherwise affirm to tell the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Excellent. You want to come up here and talk to the planning commission and explain what you're looking to do, what you want, and what you're looking to do?
Hello, everyone. Elizabeth Knights.
Well, they are your audience, the planning commission, so talk to them.
So we have been working on some properties on the West 2nd Street, mainly the ones on the hill. Our goal is to improve the west end of 2nd Street. Really, we've been doing renovation on those properties. This property that George just mentioned, 621 West 2nd, our intention for this is to use it as a storage building, not for public access storage, just for our own storage, which it has been used before, but it is a very large building. The upper level of it, we intend to help with the housing shortage by putting maybe like 2 apartments upstairs. And then there is a single family residence that is towards the front that sits on the same property, but it looks like it's split right across the street from another single family home that we simply intend to keep that way. We just renovate and make it into a single family home rental. And that way we can house all of our materials and stuff needed to be stored in a safe, comfortable environment. For all the other projects we intend to, well, the projects we have to complete and those that we intend to do. And yeah, we have some housing in this property as well. So basically storage and housing. Now we will renovate the building. Of course, it will not look as such. We'll renovate it to be able to blend in with all the other renovations we're doing in on that side of town.
So you're doing the blue house, the brick house, and are you doing the big white house as well, the original?
Yes.
On South Street, and then which other?
So we're actually working on 216 West 2nd Street, 500 West 2nd Street, 348 West 2nd Street, 504 West 2nd Street, and 520 West 2nd Street, and I think I mentioned 500.
Yeah, you mentioned 500. I was wondering who was doing all that, because all of a sudden,
Oh, I'm the culprit.
okay. All of a sudden, that whole area has just looked a ton better. I run down there all the time, and I watch them, and it's, yeah, I was like, I didn't know it was just weird timing and coincidence that people were working on these, or whether one entity was doing all this, and this makes a lot more sense to me now.
Well, thank you. That's
Thank you.
it.
Yeah,
So what you're seeing, we intend to transition it over to this property so it looks appealing as well.
So the two buildings
Yes.
down there that you're talking about, so the smaller, so you've got this one here.
Yes.
That's the one you want to make a single family
Yeah,
up
this
here?
will be a single
And
family.
storage underneath?
No, this will just be a
So it'll be
single
single
family, the
family.
whole thing. It's not big enough for any storage
Okay,
and stuff.
and then this
This
one?
one is where we'll have storage and like an office at the
An
bottom,
office,
and
okay.
upstairs we'll do housing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what was there at one time. Oh, a gentleman had a woodworking shop there.
That's what I've heard. Yeah,
A
that's,
couple
that
years
was
ago.
Michael Kohlmeyer.
There you go, thank you. Yeah, I was trying to remember his name, because he reupholstered some chairs for me and my wife, so yeah, he did really good work.
Yeah, last year, somebody else wanted to buy it to rezone it, but that rezoning fell through. And I remember getting on, Michael was still there,
Yes.
and he was kind of irritated because I put the sign up. He actually moved the sign a little bit because he wanted people to, I don't think he wanted to leave, and his customers are saying, "Are you gone? Are you not?"
Yeah.
And then the rezoning, the sale fell through, so the rezoning didn't go forward. Anyway,
Gotcha.
and it's actually zoned heavy industrial.
Yeah. So they move it out of, so you were trying to move it out of switch from heavy industrial to business because of rental property possibility, or, I mean, I just think it's kind of.
So, why don't we take testimony from the public,
Okay, sorry.
then
Yeah.
we can talk more about the specifics.
Well, I vote to approve.
Yeah.
Just in case somebody- I guess I can sit down.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, I am Leah Frederick. I'm the realtor representing the seller of this, Phoenix Midwest, or Czechoslovakia. I'm personally acquainted with Michael Kohlmeyer. In fact, he's the one that recommended me to the owner to list the property. It has been listed for quite a while. It is full of stuff. It was bought as a result of an auction, I believe, a settlement. And it's a mess, honestly. It's a blight, the way it looks. It was great when Michael was there because he was doing the woodworking. But I live on West 2nd as well and have seen what Elizabeth and her crew are doing. As a realtor, I can speak at the housing shortage. We don't have enough rentals. We get calls all the time. Do you have anything for rent? No, we don't, because we have so many people that do not qualify for mortgages in this day and age. So there is definitely a need for rental property in Mason County, as many of us are aware. I think the conversion to this being a business that has more functionality for the community will actually improve that whole area, in fact. So when you're coming down the 8th, first thing you see, Pogue, and then these different buildings here. We see the rock wall. So it's a good way to welcome folks into Mason County and Maysville. So I actually, it's not just because I get a commission, it's because I do approve. I am personally committed. I sit on the Maysville Main Street Board, and I'm also on the Mason County Assessment Board as well. So I do approve and support anything that's going to help our community put its best foot forward.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I can swear you in. You can speak with fast if you want.
Sorry. So this is quite a big piece of land.
It's just over an acre.
Just over an acre, and there's just 2 buildings on it. Are you thinking of possibly expanding on that rental and putting more buildings on there, or?
Well, yeah, right.
They asked if you wanted to get more buildings on it.
Oh, no, we're not going to be adding any more buildings.
Okay.
Do you need a motion for that?
Yep.
I make a motion. I make a motion to come out of.
Okay, we got a motion to go back in the regular meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Jim, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're back in regular meeting.
I wanted to, while I was working on this and dealing with Michael about it, so if you go to the PVA and look at this property, it actually looks like it's 2 properties. And Michael looked up the deed, and usually he can use what's in the deed to use a program that will kind of sketch out where the lines are. Well, it wasn't written in such a way in sufficient detail for him to do it. So I suggested B1 because there's B1 in the area across the street and kind of catty corner to it, and that would enable her to do everything that she wants, but there might be some, we might have to do some surveying and actually, because I'm not sure she can have all those land uses all on one B1 lot. Plus having like a single family dwelling in B1 is a conditional use. So this isn't necessarily the last thing that needs to be done, but I was comfortable with saying just the 2 lots because the overall outline is, it is static, we think. So it's 1.1 acres, and that's why it's suggested B1 because that was the most appropriate choice that would enable her to do all the things that she wanted to do eventually.
I guess there's no manufacturing, nothing industrial, so you wanted to move out of that into B1.
Right, and that's something I mentioned in my staff report is there's another property just down the street that I was told to step on the gas to try to remediate it. That little heavy industrial district there, it's derelict. It's not really, I think there's only 1 property that's used there for an industrial use. And the rest of it, it's zoned industrial because it's along the river, and I don't foresee that those properties ever being used for something.
I did read that in the staff report.
You may have noticed a lot of commonality between my other staff report and this one. As a matter of fact, I just kind of copied and pasted because they're very similar situations. The same principles apply. We have an out-of-towner who wants to invest and has already demonstrated that. This is shown on the map to be industrial, but I personally think because of that's why I've been told to step on the gas to remediate one of the other properties because that's one of the entrances to the city and it looks like crap. And so this helps with that. It's on a main artery coming into the city. There is adjoining B1, so it's not like it's spot zoning. It's also like remediating a rough property and scaling it down from heavy industrial. Somebody could put a small plant there with smoke and stuff spewing out of it. I think B1 general business is probably preferable. Any land use on B1 general business is preferable to that. In terms of the 3-prong test from KRS 100.213, let's see here, what did I say? So the comprehensive plan, I said you could argue that for the aforementioned reasons. It's infill development. I think any of the 3 prongs. It could be argued that B1 is more appropriate than I2B. This is the fact that industrial land use the industrial zoning classification, it's just not going to be used for industrial probably ever again. We'd be really lucky if that happened. So I think any of the 3 prongs you could find.
Any apartments above the business falls into the B1, that's not an issue whatsoever.
Well, that's something I have to decide because when we say apartments, we mean multifamily. Multifamily is a building with 3 of those in it. So I think I'm probably comfortable with that one. It's a single family dwelling that, I'm gonna have to put some thought into. But everything she wants to do is possible either as a permitted use or conditional use.
Oh, I agree with it, I just want to make sure it fits into that. Okay.
And the properties to, I guess, to the north and south, let's pull the other map out. There's still the original zones, i.e.,
So to the north, it's I2, it's still I2B. I think the one immediately adjoining it is the only one that's actually being used as industrial, and I think it's.
That Harper Oil?
Yeah.
so this will be a spot zoning again.
No, because there's B1 across the street and to the south.
Which is,
Which
is used.
Which there, I don't think there are commercial uses happening there. I think across the street, I think it's a manufactured home. And then that little area right there, I'm not sure it's used for business, and I'm not sure it's really being used for much of anything. But it's zoned B1, so this wouldn't be spot zoning. And, you know, that district, I think, is better off as commercial anyway, rather than, because I just don't think it's going to be used for industrial, if it's not already being used for it.
Elizabeth, you wanted to say something?
Yes, so the single home, it's not being used like a single family home as in terms of separated or being sold. It's still part of the entire business that sits on the land. So in fact, it's just a single rental, if that helps with the clarification.
Right, but the way that zoning is set up, it's a single family dwelling that's just being used as a long-term rental.
So you won't have to come back. If we approve this, you won't have to come back and list difference. Does she have to come back and have that rezoned?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I mean, I even spoke about maybe zoning that one to being R4A or R4B, because there's plenty of that in the area. But because of the unknown of where the property lines were, I just said, let's do B1, and then you could get a conditional use permit instead of being R4. You know, it was the simplest way to move forward.
Yeah, I would agree. So didn't let in the water.
No. If I knew where the property lines were, and it was definitely two different properties,
Yeah, that's separate.
and like, you know, no offense, Kelly, but oftentimes attorneys will write into a deed separate lots, but they won't legally get them subdivided, and sometimes I'm forced to honor what's in a deed that was written, you know, 10 years ago when they didn't even know that you were supposed to do, you know, there's planning and zoning. And so I didn't want to deal with the language in the deal, you know, we can.
Yeah, but does that get your cart before the horse though on that?
No, I think,
I mean,
it's not like it would be inappropriate for this to be used. I didn't mean any offense.
No, for the record, you can't hurt my feelings.
Okay. Good job, Kelly.
He's already won.
You know, the way I look at it, as long as she owns all that property, if someone would come in and subdivide that, then it might be an issue, but as long as she owns that whole property, I don't see what the big deal is.
Right, but as a planner, and all planning is done in advance, you know, I have to think about the long-term implications of things. You know, nobody owns all property forever, so I have to think about the implications of what happens later. So I haven't made the final decisions on anything else that has to be done, but this is definitely a good first step, and it's appropriate. It's not like we're reaching for this, I think.
And it's cleaning up a terrible eyesore.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely trying to make the other needs fit what she's trying to do.
Right, and I think one of the land uses is going to be your office, which is going to be your base of operations for all of your investment in Maysville.
Yes, exactly.
And the storage is just going to be
For me only.
for that.
Yes, there's no
purpose.
rental storage, it's just my storage.
And it's not like it's going to be like warehousing or
Yes,
you know,
no. No,
industrial storage.
no.
Okay, good. Any other questions, comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll motion to end. Wait.
Yeah,
Sorry.
We're already in a
Right.
way ahead of you, John.
Yeah, gosh, where have I been? I got those back there. I mean, I'll motion to approve it, but I've got to permit some findings.
Kelly, you take care
You
of
want
it.
me to help you?
Kevin, put words.
How about a suggested motion to approve the application of Elizabeth Knights for a zoning change from I2B heavy industrial to B1 general business, And further, to make the finding that KRS 100.213 has been, or is being satisfied in that this change is in agreement with the comprehensive plan, and there's been no opposition and no external, negative externalities have been articulated. I think that's.
Mr. Sims was correct, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Well said.
Right, got a motion, to have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, voice vote, you guys know the drill. John Hutchings.
Yes.
John Betts.
Yes.
Kirby Ross.
Yes.
Rick Lawrence.
Yes.
Michael Parker.
Yes.
Okay. As stated, at the next meeting, we'll approve the findings of fact and take final action on this. And then assuming this isn't a controversial rezoning where an aggrieved party comes forward and wants the city to make the final decision, or the city doesn't come forward and say it's making the final decision, then the rezoning will take effect by law 21 days after that.
Good, thank you, appreciate it.
Good luck.
George, next thing's qualified manufactured homes.
Okay, so this is an interesting one. The state, for better or worse, passed a law this past session that is going to make a certain standard of manufactured home possible to be sited just about anywhere that single-family dwellings are possible. They're called qualified manufactured homes because they have to meet a certain standard. And you guys all have a copy of what KRS 100.348 is going to be effective of July 1st of next year. So it's a year from yesterday. And so D is where most of those requirements are outlined. So it has to be manufactured within 5 years of the installation. So it's been past 5 years. It has to be affixed to a permanent foundation and is connected to the appropriate facilities like utilities. And permanent foundation is defined in E, the section after that. It has to have a width of at least 20 feet at its smallest width measurement, or is 2 stories high in height and oriented on the lot or parcel so that its main entrance door faces the street. And it has to have a minimum total living area of 900 square feet. So basically I'm bringing this to you because I'm going to write a text amendment to deal with this. I say it makes qualified manufactured homes possible in almost every place that single family dwellings are, with the exception of neighborhoods that have private subdivision restrictions. You can still keep them out there, and you can keep them out of historic districts because they're just not going to fit in there. I don't think that manufactured homes are historic, especially if they're made within the last 5 years. The reason why the state gave the local municipalities more than a year to take them into account is because of Section 4. You can regulate them if you want to, but you can't subject them to regulations that you don't subject conventional single-family dwellings to. Like you can't make a special class of regulations for them. You can only make new regulations or alter existing regulations that then would apply to single-family dwellings. For example, roof pitch. You couldn't say that qualified manufactured homes have to have a certain roof pitch unless you say the same is the case with single-family dwelling.
So it doesn't discriminate against the.
Right. You're not allowed to discriminate, but you can regulate as long as you regulate
Right.
all single-family dwellings the same way. That's when they say that they made this so that the qualified manufactured homes should fit with the character of the surrounding area. That's what they mean, roof pitch, square footage of livable space, so that you didn't have massive homes and then you have, if you have a minimum square footage for the home here, somebody just couldn't bring in a qualified manufactured home that doesn't fit that. It would have to be as big as the minimum that you set for other single-family dwellings. The thing about that is we're going to just go ahead and do this because the only thing in 4 that we really regulate is F, setback restrictions, lot dimensions, that sort of thing. I mean, if you guys are interested in doing all that stuff, we can, but we don't really have anything like that in the zoning code, and I don't know that there's an appetite to regulate that much. Just, that seems like something that like the big cities would do. Lexington and Louisville, they might have something, but we just don't do that. I mean, as long as you build a house and it meets the setbacks and it meets the building code, and it's not higher than our height restrictions, okay, do it. I've actually already, because this is happening, I mean, the state could edit these next year. I really doubt they're going to. I've already given permission for 2 separate lots to just move ahead as long as they meet these standards, because this is coming down the pike. The state's doing this. It's not something. But anyway, that's what I'm planning to do.
You mentioned they give you a year to adopt this?
Because it doesn't take effect until July 1st of next year.
So is that typical of a year or?
No, I think it's because of Section 4, so that
Okay.
you can fit it into your regulations. Another thing it
So
does.
there's not a chance it's just a year to see it to trial, maybe this goes away, it's happening.
This was done as a fairly straightforward and simple way to address the housing crisis. And I actually traveled out of town, I think it was the Thursday before Memorial Day, to see a presentation about this. It was a 70-minute presentation, and the first 65 minutes was from I can't remember his name, or it was a guy representing the kind of the trade, the trade industry of this industry. So I think, you know, of course, special interests are involved in this, but I mean, you know, it gives local municipalities the way to regulate it if they really have a problem with that. We just don't do that here.
Can a developer impose his own deed restrictions?
Yes.
On a subdivision.
On his subdivision that
That excludes these, yes.
Right.
Supersedes.
And I'm assuming a lot of the existing, you know, legacy subdivisions probably say you can't have manufactured homes in there. Going back long enough, they probably don't. If they were, you know, like my subdivisions from 1950, I don't know that manufactured homes existed back then.
Okay.
But this might be a way for more legal work to edit subdivision restrictions for unfinished subdivisions.
Lawyers wouldn't do that.
Yeah. They don't need more work, do they?
You can't hurt my feelings.
But yeah, I just, you know, if you guys have any suggestions or comments. One thing I did want to mention is, you know, at first, the city manager and I thought that we were going to have to we would just scrap our manufactured home existing ones. No, this is a different thing. So you can keep all your existing manufactured home regulations in place. This was made to make a special class of manufactured homes that are, you know, that was part of the presentation. Is they don't, when you think of manufactured homes, you think of a certain look. They don't really make them that way anymore. I mean, they're higher quality. So you can still keep your existing manufactured home regulations. It's just if they qualify, then you have to accommodate them. And you've got a year to do it in case you want to regulate based on all the things in 4. But I can't see many municipalities just starting to do that just because of this. So
This might be good on the east end to put stuff, homes in some of those holes that have opened up from the houses that have been torn down.
yeah, as long as they meet these standards, they can do it. And even then, you know, I think the same rules apply. If they can't fit, then they can apply for variance. And I don't think you could discriminate against them because they're maybe qualified.
Variance would have to be of a different.
I think you'd have to find a different reason to strike it down to try to oppose it. Yeah. I haven't figured out yet if a single family dwelling, like we mentioned for B1, if a single family dwelling is a conditional use, I think it means that then Bs would also be a conditional use. I don't think it automatically make it possible. I think it just has to follow the same rules as single family dwellings. Does that make sense? Otherwise, yeah, this is another thing coming down the pike for you guys. This one should be an easy one. I don't.
You're looking to make a new text amendment, is that relatively soon, so we can?
Yeah, sometime probably by the end of the year. I've been I've been pretty busy lately.
Because you have a year, I mean, if you, end the year, give you 6 months, so to make any edits, whatever you want to do.
Well, even if we didn't act before the end of the year, state law would trump anything we have. But we're just gonna go ahead and, well, I think we do have to adopt it because most things in KRS chapter 100, we do have to adopt. Would anything happen to us if we were a little late? As long as we didn't, as long as we still tried to block it. Right. As long as we did still try to block it. Any questions?
Next.
Comprehensive plan update.
All right. I actually have plenty of stuff. So the steering committee met, when was it?
Last Tuesday.
Last Tuesday. And went through, and we actually had a quorum. We got rid of a bunch of minutes that hadn't been approved in way longer time than I want to admit. We have a tentative meeting. Our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for
July 22nd.
Yeah, Tuesday, July 22nd, which is, what, 3 weeks from yesterday? And our plan is, if you have, I think I gave you guys the link to the online version of the initial draft. But for the steering committee, she said that if you have, review this, go home and review it, look at it more. She gave a new copy with page numbers. And if you have any criticisms or feedback, get them back to her, and she would incorporate them for that meeting on the 22nd. And then assuming everything seems to be fine, then I will give that to you guys, send that to you guys, and give you some time to review it. About 2 weeks. The next day the next meeting will be 2 weeks from it, and then have you guys discuss it and potentially pass a motion to hold a public hearing over it for the following meeting. So it's pretty ambitious little timeline, but I think we all want to get this done.
Why do you want to hurry? Yeah, it's only been 3 years.
Yeah.
That time start over.
Yeah, no. Anything worth doing is worth doing right? So that's what I've got. If you guys have any questions, you guys are welcome to go to meetings. I'm pretty sure I copied you guys on the email form. You guys have any questions?
Not hearing any.
No.
I mean, if you guys have any comments, I mean, they're your agents, and you guys are the agents of the local legislative bodies. If you guys have seen something and you guys have a want to pass on to me, I'll pass it along to Allison. I've still got to get her some work for it because I was assigned a little bit of work and I've been swamped. So
Was that one of mine?
yeah, I meant to ask you about that.
No publicly?
Well, you had edits to the previous comprehensive plan,
Oh,
not the draft.
okay, so I need to look at that.
Yeah.
So it's not applicable to the.
No, because that's
fine.
I didn't notice it until the meeting.
That's okay.
Any questions?
No questions? Have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Thank you for coming.